Record, please, Pam. Good afternoon and welcome to the joint meeting of the Cabinet, Education, Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee. My name is Alison and I'm the Scrutiny Officer for today's meeting. Just to make you all aware, today's meeting will be recorded. Can I also welcome members of the public and press to today's meeting? Can I kindly ask that you observe the meeting only and do not speak or participate? The first item on today's agenda is to appoint a chairperson and a vice chairperson. Can I please have a proposer for chair?
Good afternoon. I'd like to propose Councillor Rebecca Phillips for chair, please.
Thank you. Can I please have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain? If members do not indicate to the contrary, then I would take it that this decision is supported. There are no indications to the contrary, so can I ask Councillor Rebecca Phillips to now undertake the role of chair?
Diolch aelodau. Thank you, members, and good afternoon to you all. Moving on to the agenda, item 1, appointment of vice chair. I will propose Councillor Phil Rogers. Could I please have a seconder?
I'll second.
Chair.
Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported.
I can see no indications to the contrary, Chair.
Can I please invite Councillor Rogers to take the vice chair position? Agenda item 2, Chair's announcements. Can I please remind members of the logistics of today's meeting? We will firstly take the joint meeting of Cabinet, Education, Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny, where the Strategic School Improvement Programme will be discussed. Following the conclusion of the Scrutiny Committee, the Cabinet will meet to take the decision. If attending virtually, you will have received a separate invitation for the Cabinet meeting. In addition, can I refer you to the protocols for hybrid meetings which have previously been circulated? Please can you ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting and that your microphones are muted when not speaking. If members wish to speak or ask a question, please could you raise your electronic hands or physical hand if in the council chamber. Also, for those in the chamber, please use your microphones when speaking. Can I please remind members that all questions should be directed in relation to the report that's being considered today. A supplement to the Cabinet agenda was published on Friday. This report is private. Can I please ask that any questions that specifically relate to the content of this report are held until the end of the consideration of the substantive report. We will then ask for a proposer and a seconder to enter into private part of the meeting for all questions in relation to this item. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Can members please indicate if they have any interest to declare? Councillor Rosalind Davis, please.
Can I ask you to repeat that, Councillor Davis, with your microphone on, just for the benefit of members at home? Thank you.
I need to declare an interest. I'm a governor of Godwrhaig Primary School. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch. Councillor Rob Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. Item 6 on the Cabinet papers. My daughter works at Ysgol Maes y Coed. I have dispensation to speak and to vote on that matter.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other interest to declare, please? Councillor Wyn Carpenter, please.
Yeah, my daughter works at Kemsais and Comprehensive.
Anybody else to declare? No. Alison will forward you and I'll...
Sorry, Chair, if I can just come in here, can I just remind Cabinet members as well, if you have any interest that you'll be declaring in the Cabinet later on, could you also declare them here at the same time, please?
Councillor Nia Jenkins, please.
Apologies for that. Yeah, I'm a governor on Maes y Coed School.
Thank you. And Councillor Phil Rogers, please.
Sorry, same with me. I need to declare I'm Vice Chair of the Governors at Llangatwg. Thank you.
Any other interest to declare? Councillor Peter Rees, please.
Chair, I haven't had a copy of the agenda, so I'm not sure whether I should declare I'm a governor at Kevin Syson.
No, that's fine, Councillor Peter Rees. I think you only need to worry about declaring interest in respect of any of the schools which are specifically referenced in the report today. All members in any event have a standard dispensation for being a school governor. So I would just suggest anyone who's got a specific reference to the school's name today, just those need to be declared at the moment.
Thank you, Craig.
Are there any other interests to declare, please? Don't see any. Alison will forward you an electronic copy of the declaration form for you all to complete. Diolch. Agenda item 4, pre-decision scrutiny. Andrew, would you like to give a brief overview of the report before members go into questions?
Thank you, Chair. I certainly do, and hopefully this will be useful for members. I think it's really important that everybody understands what it is the report is talking about today. And I want to say a little bit about the urgent report which was issued on Friday. Not going into the detail, I know that because it's a private item, but I just need to explain what that actually represents. So the only thing we're asking for members' approval today is for permission to write to Welsh Government and amend our strategic outline programme. Now, what that is, if we want to attract capital funding from Welsh Government to build new schools, amend schools, extend the size of schools, if we want to attract capital funding from Welsh Government, there's a process which we are obliged to go through, the same as every authority in Wales. The starting point for that is what is known as a strategic outline programme. And that literally is the starting point. In terms of our Band B, and there's lots of schools mentioned in Band B in the report, all those have been previously discussed, agreed by members, and actually much of Band C has been agreed by members, but there are some amendments which we're asking members to look at today. So Band B has been previously approved, so we're not here to talk about Kevin Syson or anything like that, because obviously that's been approved and we've built a new Kevin Syson. But as you know, in this chamber back last April, there was a decision taken not to proceed with the Swansea Valley proposal. So that was a school which was in our strategic outline programme. Now we quite clearly need to take that out now because we're not progressing, because there was no member support for it within the cabinet. So we're asking for permission to remove that from our strategic outline programme and include in our strategic outline programme now a new school for Godrevy. Nothing more than that. I know you're probably all dying to ask questions about size and where and how many and does it have an ALN unit and how many pupils and how much will it cost and all the rest of it. I can tell you now, if you do ask me those questions, I certainly don't want to sit here and be awkward or try to be awkward, even look awkward, but we haven't done any of that, hardly any of that work whatsoever. So we have to provide a certain amount of information to Welsh Government so that they can take a view about our strategic programme, but nothing more than that. If we get Cabinet approval today, we'll write to Welsh Government, we'll ask them to amend our strategic outline programme, and there are other aspects to it as well in terms of special schools, and I'll go into that detail in a second. And that really is the starting point. So if they come back to us and say, yeah, we are happy for you to work up the detail around what's included in your strategic programme, that's when all the detail is done then in terms of where, how many pupils, what will it look like, where will it physically be built, where on their site will it be physically be built, etc. So all the detail will come. Today isn't about the detail. Today is about Cabinet giving us permission to seek permission for Welsh Government to include it in a programme where we can get Welsh Government capital funding. It's no more than that. And if I can just talk briefly about the urgent report which went out on Friday. As part of the former process, we were asked close to the date of the cabinet meeting in April to give members some more information about what is it possible to build a school in Godrevy on the Knoll Road site. So we told members that it was a difficult site to develop, but you know, if you do spend enough money, maybe any site can be developed. So we had that work undertaken Some of it was desktop. Some of it, there were some site investigations. There were boots on the ground in Godwrhaig. But all that report said last April was it probably is possible to build on that site. If we do build on that site, there was a cost associated with it, but it's a very difficult site to build on. And the drawing of the school that was in the urgent report is just meant to be indicative of the size of building that it might look like on the site. It is not meant to describe to members, that's it, that's what it's going to be, that's what it's going to look like. It was purely indicative for the process last April. So for today's purposes, it has no standing, it has no relevance. It was just purely to demonstrate last April that it is possible to develop that site. This is what it might look like if we progress, and these are the approximate costs and nothing more than that. So when we get to the private item, you know, we may have questions, but that report is nothing more than that. So if you ask me, why is it going to be there on the site? That's too close to this, that, or the other. I'll be saying it was meant to be indicative. It's certainly never meant to be a final design of the school on the site in that spot. So I just wanted members to understand what the purpose of that document was last April. It was just fulfilling that sort of obligation, if you like. So happy to take any questions now, Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. That's very useful, and I will remind members again just to ask questions and make comments only relevant to the report that's in front of us today. So we have already had some indication from members that want to ask questions. So if I could start with Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please. Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. I thank you, Andrew, for that statement at the beginning, and quite understand the points you're making. I've been involved in scrutinising from Welsh Government side some of these, so I'm aware of the way this works. However, this is an interesting set of decisions, and there are ramifications going forward, and there are issues that have impacts on our community. And also, before I ask my detailed questions, I just wanted to make the points that we had a discussion last week about the process of scrutiny and about the time needed for papers. And it's obvious to all of us involved that the papers were available or would have been available for a meeting on the 8th of November. However, they were still held and we weren't able to see them until 7 days before. So it is, you know, there are concerns about how this process has been taken forward and that information has not been freely available. I understand that because of COVID, we didn't have the sorts of site meetings around some of these strategic outline programmes originally that we would have had previously. However, I would like to ask that in the future, going forward, as we look in more detail at these sites, we can have site meetings, we can have site visits and look in detail at the needs and at the issues there, because it would be appropriate and members can speak and talk with much more information. Many of these proposals are really needed and really important going forward. We had to request a joint meeting on this, and that was another concern, and our concerns about scrutiny. However, my question you've answered about why you know, the report was available but not made available to us. However, I think it is an interesting report in the light of the sorts of discussions we're having. Can I ask just for the public record why the report is private, please?
Happy to come in there. So the report obviously is marked as exempt on your papers on the basis of paragraph 14, which means the financial and business affairs of the council. So as members will see when they go through that report, there is some significant commercial information in there with regarding land ownership matters as part of the feasibility study that the independent consultants were commissioned to undertake. The reason we suggest that you consider those ultimately matters in private is because it can have an impact on certain considerations which may be had in the future if there have to be costs incurred or, costs developed in that sense in respect to proposals. We go out to competitive tender, we make sure we follow a strict process there for compliance within the law. The decision, obviously, as to whether you wish to consider it in private is for members to make that determination on, but the advice from officers is that it meets that criteria, and so that it doesn't detriment any sort of ongoing discussions that might be had in the future, you give consideration to that being considered in private today.
Thank you, Craig. And I wanted to ask about, and I'll ask that and ask the other information I want in the private session. Then, given the situation of the site and the abnormalities mentioned in the public report, and the concerns that arise around it, we realise there's a lot of work to be done going forward with that plan. We were promised a plan for the autumn, and this appears to be it. Is there anything coming forward for the other two schools in the area which are left in relation to, in Victorian buildings? Is there any proposal to look at the needs of pupils to meet a 21st century curriculum for Llangwch and Allwen?
The short answer to that is no, but that said, all schools, as we've said for many, many years now, all schools will be reviewed under what I call the 21st Century Schools programme over time. Cwmtawi School is referred, I'm not suggesting for 1 second Cwmtawi School is under review, by the way, but everybody refers to Cwmtawi as the new comprehensive school, and actually Cwmtawi is about 27 years old now. I know time flies. So the point I'm making is that all schools will be reviewed under the 21st Century Schools programme at some time. But at the moment, Llangwch and Allwen will be treated the same as all other schools across the county. In other words, there's a finite amount of money in terms of a capital maintenance budget. Our building surveyors decide which schools are in worst condition first, in other words, what the priorities are, and then we will spend what resource we have on the worst case first basis. So Allwen and Llangwch are in that sort of process now, but there's no 21st Century Schools proposals coming forward at the moment for those two schools.
I can see that the Cabinet Member for Education has got her hand up. So do you want to come in now, Councillor Jenkins?
Thank you. Yeah, apologies. After speaking to Craig earlier, we have no reason to be discussing Allwen School today, so I didn't declare it, but I am a governor of Allwen School as well. But just to concur with what Andrew Thomas has said, this today is to ask permission to approach Welsh Government. And whilst I realise you're saying that, you have queries about the feasibility study, the fact is that's not actually part of the discussion. And I note that you haven't asked about feasibility studies for any of the other three schools that are also included in there. So I'm just wondering why you're so fixated with Cwmtawe. Thank you.
Can I indicate that I was about to ask my next question, which says, are there any other documents or feasibility studies which relate to these proposals that we should be aware of? Thank you. Cabinet Member, this is a scrutiny meeting.
Just to be clear, Councillor Reynolds, you're referring to Godrog Graig?
No, I'm referring to the document. Are there other feasibility studies undertaken already, or are those yet to be done?
All right, right. No. I mean, that document was from a former process, so yeah.
Councillor Reynolds, have you finished your questions?
For the moment, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Helen Carey-Clark, please.
Thank you. I'm unsure whether the questions I've got should be sent in private or not, because I can't find any private papers, but the ones that were given you the other day, would they be in order?
Private papers, Councillor Kerry Clark, were issued on Friday as a supplement on the Cabinet agenda.
I haven't had them anyway. I've only read what's. I think the public ones. It's to do with. Hold on.
Councillor Kerry Clark, if there were the questions that were indicated in pre-briefing by Councillor Goldup-John, then you're fine to ask those questions.
Great, I'll ask them then. Thank you. Yeah, what I wanted to know was it mentions the Coed Darcy planned school in there. Does this plan remove Coed Darcy from the plan, and have the council abandoned all efforts to build a school on the Coed Darcy site? And it says in the report that there's a statement that it's doubtful that the Welsh Government would allow the Coed Darcy project to be carried over again. How do we know this, and could we include it anyway and find out whether they'd let us carry it over? Can I just ask those questions for now? I've got another two, but I'd just like a reply to these first.
Certainly. The only amendments that are being suggested to Band B and Band C, Councillor Clark, are to do with the two special schools and Godreg. So there's no suggestion that we're looking to remove the new school in Coed Darcy from Band B. It's just taking longer than we would have liked to have delivered that school, and there's a variety of different reasons for that. But there's no, it's just the amendments around the two special schools and Godreg that we're looking to amend. So nothing else has been taken out or put in. It's just the skills centre in Felindra. So those are the only amendments. Good,
that's that's good news for me. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to ask was about Welsh medium education. Because in the IIA impact, it says the schemes involved are generally English medium schools. However, the improved facilities will impact on Welsh-speaking pupils who attend these provisions. It is expected that staff who are able to speak Welsh will be available to support schools who transition from a Welsh medium school or who speak Welsh as their first language. What do you mean by that? And also, I wanted to ask, what are you doing to increase the number of pupils learning through the medium of Welsh in this plan? Because there's nothing really for learners from the Jersey Marine, Llandarcy and Crumlin Boroughs area who want to attend in Welsh medium education.
The IIAs. Are you reading from the IIA? Yeah. I'll ask Kate to expand on that in a second. But I'm going to sort of quote my cabinet member now. This report deals with taking some schemes out to Band B and putting some, and it has nothing to do with Welsh medium. Obviously, if members want to report on Welsh medium, then we're quite happy to provide a report on that. But I think we need to restrict our questioning to what the purpose of the report is. So I don't know if Kate's got any comment on or Rhiannon has actually.
Yeah, just in terms of the IIA, what it's basically saying is at the moment, if we have Welsh-speaking children in Coed or in Hendervale, which are the two special schools that we're talking about in this report, then they're in those schools with support from Welsh-speaking teachers and TAs. And basically, it's just saying that in the future, if these proposals are approved further down the line, that's what we will be looking to do. Then we're not going to change the language category of them, but what we would expect to do is that if there are Welsh-speaking children who need to access these facilities, that we will make staff available for them to do so, as we do now.
Thank you, it's really clear.
Thank you. Councillor Goldup-John, would you like to come in at this point?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a quick question for me. With regards to the planned Gatwg school. I note that Andrew said that it's just to have kind of an overview of the project, but I feel like we're closing the door on a potential retrofit of some of the older Victorian buildings, because it does say that they'll build a new school on the playing fields and then knock down the existing buildings and, pardon me, knock down the existing buildings and then put playing fields where the existing buildings are. And I was just thinking, would it be not more advantageous to kind of keep that door open to a potential retrofit of especially the better quality older buildings, not the 1980s buildings that obviously were very poorly constructed if they've only got a 40-year life cycle, to then, have potentially a better proposal. noting the fact that it'd probably be better for the environment if there was less embedded carbon, knocked down and rebuilt, every 40 years. So yeah, it's just a comment on that really, and if we can keep the door open to potentially retrofit some of the existing buildings if they are so fit.
As I said, I don't want to come across as being a bit awkward or rude, but we're really not here to talk about Llangatug. But I will give you some comfort around Llangatug, even though we're not here to discuss that. Is when the outline business cases get to be developed around that, all the most economic and commercially beneficial and value for money options will be looked at in terms of whatever the solution for Llangatug is. So I dare say some of what you've just discussed would be picked up as part of the outline business case. Councillor Gould, John, but just say we're not here to discuss Llangatug, but that will be taken as part of the process.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Rydion Maisen, please.
Can I come back in, please?
You can come back in once, Councillor Gould, John, if it's relevant to the papers that we're discussing.
Yeah, it was just a point of clarity, Chair, really, with you. If these other schools aren't relevant to the discussion, why were they submitted with the paperwork? Because I note that the Ysgol Coed Darcy is in here as well, and it's saying that it's not guaranteed that it'll be able to be carried over. We've got Llangatug in here, and it says quite clearly that we're going to build a new school on the playing fields and then demolish it and then put the playing fields on the existing buildings. So if we're not here to discuss them, which I understand completely, why have we got the paperwork to go through it?
It's simply for completeness. So when we refer to Band C, which is Llangatug in, we thought it would be useful to remind members what's been already agreed by members in Band C. But it's and that's why I started off with what I started off with. I understand the frustration, but Band C has been approved by members already. We have to give a certain amount of information. We have to give Welsh Government what we think happened. But I suppose the five-case business model, the Treasury funding model, the Welsh Government make us apply through, and it's a very robust model, quite rightly so as well, ensures that anybody applying for this capital funding from Welsh Government looks at all the options that might be available. So it'll be picked up, like any scheme that is a detail within the report will be picked up through that process. So whilst it's been all that information on Kevin Syson, Llangatug, Coed Darcy has been provided for completeness, but the decisions today are simply around taking out the original Swansea Valley proposal, including a new Godre Graig, amending Band B for Ysgol Maes y Coed, amending and the Skills Centre, and amending Band C for a new Ysgol Henryfelin. So it's for completeness, Councillor Gould, John.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rydion Maisen, please.
Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Andrew, just on the point of the new Welsh school in the east of the county. Listen, as a Welsh speaker, I'd be landed if it was 900 plus children going to Welsh education. But he said there's a need being established. I'm just wondering, the school is proposed the same size as the rebuild of Rose Avon, which is another 400 odd. So I just wondering, was there ever any consideration given to just the rebuild of Rose Avon and being a bit bigger, make it pass for 600 children? Because land is at a premium to Margam way. I just wondering whether, was there ever a consideration given to make it Rose Avon just a little bit bigger?
I really am happy to bring a report back around Welsh Medium, but that's not relevant today. But I'm more than happy to bring a report around Welsh Medium, across the council. But as I say, the Welsh Medium schools aren't being discussed today. I'm really sorry. As I say, I hate not answering questions, but we could be all afternoon answering questions around things which aren't relevant to the report.
Okay, that's fine. And if members could please keep things to, yeah, great. Councillor Caroline Lewis, please.
After Andrew's explanation, I no longer have a question.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wood, please.
Councillor Wood, sorry. Councillor Wood, sorry to interrupt you. Can you pop your mic on, please?
Sorry, Chair. I've got 4 points to make that overlap parts of Band B and Band C, especially on the amendments. Firstly, I find it quite bizarre that we would be looking to refurbish a school which is over 100 years old, the ELRS, which was the formerly Trevelyan School, as a skills centre. I recently visited it, and to say it's falling apart would be a kind description. The initial refurbishment and on costs would be enormous. Surely the money would be better spent on a more modern building fit for purpose, which would of course be a lot greener if we had a modern building. Secondly, I would ask on this point, how does this impact on the current adult learning provision that we have at Tmorfa going forward, which of course ties into the refurbishment of Rosehaven School because it is part of the current site. The third point is relating to the ELRS project on the Trevelyan site. And it cuts across to what's been proposed with Ysgol Henryfelin, because I don't know if members are aware, but Ysgol Henryfelin has a site at the ELRS. And I don't think there's enough detail around, you know, whether we'd be developing one side of it, both sides of it at the same time. On Ysgol Henryfelin then, I would like to say that the point of combining the 3 units going forward, to my mind, doesn't make sense at all, as the needs of the children in these units are completely different. I would personally prefer to see 3 new separate units for some of the most vulnerable children in our county's education going forward. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Wood. Much of what you've just asked there will be picked up as part of the detail when the outline business cases are completed, but I'll try and answer, you know, because you've raised some general questions around that as well. In terms of the substantial refurbishment, so the £9 million has been calculated on what we call a heavy refurbishment. Is that the term? It's a bit of a Welsh Government sort of thing where you apply the square footage of the building by a cost per square foot, and it's called a heavy refurbishment. So that's where the £9 million has come from. But you're absolutely right. When we come to do the detailed work, you know, if that's where we get to, then it might be that it's a much better option to build something new. The problem we've got is land is a bit of a premium, and of course there's not an awful lot of land, but so that will be looked at as part of, again, similar sort of answer really to Nathan Golub-John is the outline business case makes you look at the most economic, commercially, you know, and if you attract Welsh Government funding, then you have to develop to what's called BREEAM Excellent, which means it's got all the latest sort of renewables in it. So it may well be that we do end up doing something different to what is being proposed, and that's the whole point of it. In terms of the impact on the skills and training unit down in Morven, it wouldn't, whatever we do, whether it's in ERS or whether it's somewhere else, it won't have any impact there other than to complement what's happening there and in other places, because this is all part of a much wider county-wide sort of skills drive that we're trying to develop. So even if we were to develop ELRS in the way that we've kind of mentioned it in the report, that would form part of, if you like, the hub, and then we would have what we call spokes across the county borough where we would be delivering these essential skills and these vocational skills for our young people, which are so important, particularly in terms of all the investment that's coming into Neath for Talbot in the near future, but also in terms of possibly Tata, where we need to upskill people into new jobs. So that's part of a much wider strategy, which again I think is something which members no doubt would want to hear more about at the time. But irrespective of this building, that strategy is being developed anyway, because we've got a range of new schools across the county borough. We've got plans in Band B and Band C to develop other new schools, and when we develop those business cases, we'll want to put in those specific facilities where we can deliver vocational studies for children right across the county borough. So just as an example, carpentry might be in a new Llangatug, hairdressing might be in a new St Joseph's, or the other way around. But so we'll have the idea is to have centres of excellence around the county, so we're self-sufficient, involve industry, because that's obviously very important, involve the college, because they're a key partner as well. So this is part of a much wider strategy. I've certainly gone into far more detail than is required in terms of, but so I keep coming back to, this is the start of trying to get these plans, delivered over time. Just in terms of Ysgol Hendervale, and I've heard those concerns expressed in terms of bringing all three onto the same site. That certainly hasn't been finalised or anything like finalised. The detail hasn't been done. I can see advantages and disadvantages to both, if I'm really honest, but that will be explored should we get to the point where we ask Welsh Government to allow us to do that work for you.
Thank you. And Councillor Paterson, do you have any questions, or are you?
In pre-brief, I said there would be questions. Thank you, Chair. Bearing in mind what the director has said, then I realise that we are at the very first layer of the process, and therefore I will defer my questions until we reach the later stages of the report. And I have no questions today.
Much appreciated, Councillor Paterson. Do we have any further questions from members that are not in the private part of the report? Councillor Rob Jones, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Andrew, just for clarity here, there is no guarantee that Welsh Government will approve the changes that we are proposing as a council going forward on the Cabinet papers for the exchanges of the Swansea Valley School and the Godric build, etc., etc. And even if Cabinet sends forward the recommendation for approval, there's a lot of water that's going to go under the bridge, because anyone that's from the members of the public here that are listening to extensions of Mysocoid, refurbishment of buildings, I wouldn't want to set hairs racing here of an expectation from communities that I think it's very important we emphasise that whilst it may be approved by Cabinet today, it's still got to be approved by Welsh Government, and then there's a lot of water that's got to go under this bridge before any formulation of recommendations come back to Council to further pursue these. I just want to make that clear, because I wouldn't want any communities to think they're having new schools, new extensions, new refurbishments, when at the moment we're just opening the gate to pursue those.
Councillor Jones is absolutely right. There's an awful lot of authorities, if you like, governance stages. The first one is today in terms of permission to write to Welsh Government. They've got to come back and say yes or no, and they can say yes to one scheme and no to all the others for whatever reason. Even if they say, well, yes, there's still the strategic outline case, the OBC, the FBC, there's all the planning. Plus, there's the rest of the 21st Century Schools programme that we have to deliver as well, which has already been agreed by members around Llangatwg, St Joe's, Tywyn. So, it's years. You're absolutely right. So you're right to sort of, put that sort of element of realism into people's minds, particularly, those members in schools. We are talking about, with a fair wind, every one of those projects will be years. And some more years than others, obviously.
Thank you. Any other questions that are not private? Councillor Sonia Reynolds, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to indicate a couple on the integrated impact assessment. There were queries about correctness of some of the actions at the pre-briefing. I wondered if those have been clarified. And then in addition to that, there's a statement in here around Valley's impacts. Given that we're removing one school and therefore saying that in the Swansea Valley, 2 schools will not have the improvements and the better facilities expected, and that there will be there's no plan at the current time for a replacement pool, and that is relevant to this because it fits within the criteria that there would be. There is an impact on Valley communities. So I have concerns with that statement in the report.
Rhiannon, do you want to pick up just on the part of the IIA, the errors in there, please?
Yes, certainly. You are correct. Some of the crosses are in the wrong place. It shouldn't be a negative impact, it's a neutral impact. But the text of the IIA is correct. So if you just read the text and don't read the crosses, you'll be fine.
Yeah, there we are. Thank you. Lovely.
Are we not going to pick up on the valleys impact, please?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. The reason that it's been written in the way it has is because I keep coming back to what the recommendations are today, and the purpose of this report is just to ask for permission to take one out and put another one in. All the impacts of not progressing with the Swansea Valley were detailed within the meeting last April. This now is a new proposal to build a school for Godrevy. So the IIA has been written and shaped around what that proposal is, and quite clearly there's no proposal to include a swimming pool, so that's why it forms no part of this this report, and that's why it's not included. So
thank you very much. We will now move to the private supplement on the Cabinet agenda. I propose access to meetings to resolve to exclude the public for the following items pursuant to section 100A 415 of the Local Government Act 1972 and the relevant exempt paragraphs of Part 4 of the Schedule 12A to the above Act. Can I please have a seconder?
I'm happy to second, Chair.
Diolch. Are there any abstentions?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Members, if you do not indicate the contrary, I will take it that this motion is supported.
I can see no indications to the contrary, Chair. The motion is supported. Can we now please confirm that the recording has been stopped and that members of the public have now left the meeting?